I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country and to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.
The Scout law: trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. I didn't see girl or boy on there.
I didn't either, and I kind of feel like that's something that both boys and girls, like, you would want them to have all of those values and those characteristics, like obedient, cheerful, kind, right? To be
loyal, trustworthy.
Yeah, that's something I think
it
that
did
I
not
want.
feel very gender specific.
It didn't.
So, yeah, there's a little snark going on here. Heather and I were discussing videos and stuff, and I was like, hey, you should really do one on the Scouts because of how incredible of an influence it's been on her kids' lives so far.
Yeah.
And holy God, we were met with some hate.
Which I'm not gonna lie, like, guys, I thought that was just gonna be such a nice video, just being like, hey, like, if this is something you're interested in, go for it. We love it. And again, like, we just read that off to you. Those are values and morals that we thought were important for our kids to have, all of them, right? My sons and my daughter. And I had no idea we were going to be met with backlash. I just did not. I had no idea.
So, some of the comments included things like they thought that the Girl Scouts were there just to cook and clean for them.
Yeah.
The one that went kind of a little sideways.
Yeah, there was a lot about, like, the modern day, like, feminization and but one thing I wanted to point out was you know, a lot of people were trying to say, like, boys needed an environment to what was the words that they used, like,
to be boys,
pretty much.
They needed
right?
an environment that was female free so that they could learn to be true gentlemen. And Caleb,
yes,
her 14-year-old, when she took that to his attention, this is what his response was.
Yeah, so I asked him how he felt about it, because he is a 14-year-old, almost 15, in Scouts. And whenever I asked him about it, he said that he thought that whenever you were around girls is whenever you should be, like, your most manly, right? Like, that's whenever you would exude manliness the most. And I was like, holy crap, like, yeah, you're right. Like, I hadn't even thought of that. But whenever I asked him if whenever girls were around, would that change how he behaved? And did it make him, whenever there were girls in the classes with him, did that change for him? Did it make him feel like he couldn't be more of a man? And that's what he said, was that he felt like when women were or girls were around, that's whenever he was supposed to be at his, like, manliest.
And one of the comments was that us women destroyed the Girl Scouts, so now we're trying to take over the Boy Scouts. And, like, that's silly. The Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts have always taught two different skill sets, two very different skill sets. Yeah. The Girl Scouts was focused more on home ec things.
And economics. It had a lot of business.
Well, like, the cooking, cleaning, money management, things like that. But they didn't really have a lot of survival skills. And as crazy as it sounds, as crazy as you guys think it sounds, we want our daughters to be sufficient in those areas as well.
Yep.
And
if I might add, we also want our boys to know how to cook and clean and take care of themselves. Like, I want them to know how to sew on a button. I want them to know how to cook a meal and to clean the house and to balance their checking accounts. Like, that's important for my sons and my daughter to know how to do both of these things.
And when you say that boys can't learn in that environment now, that they still can't learn the same things in that environment now because girls are present, are you putting so little faith in your son that you don't think he can control himself around girls? Is that what is being said? Because that's what it feels like is being said.
Another point as well is one of the reasons that, I mean, we've decided to homeschool our kids, and we've homeschooled them for a long time. And my kids are around people of all ages, right? What other time in your child's life will they go to do things like this, like take a class or whatever it is, right? Go swimming, shooting, all the things that the scouts do. When will they go to do those things in real life and only be surrounded by men? Like, that doesn't happen. Like, your child, in my opinion, my children need to know how to interact with, like, how to act around men and women whenever they are going to be doing things.
Right.
So.
And to kind of close it out, like, are you guys uncomfortable with ladies being allowed in our fighting pistol class? Because we are teaching you a life-saving skill that 10 years ago, not very many ladies were a part of. Mm-hmm. Like, it was, I've been in the industry for close to 30 years now. And I was very often the only girl around.
Yeah.
And it was actually James Yeager that sparked the belief in both of us that girls are just as capable. And I don't want you guys to hear that we don't think that there are like gender differences. Like we know that there are, like, biologically things are different. Right. But why should those differences preclude girls from learning those same skills?
And understand too, if you don't mind, whenever they're going to these camps, they still have the girls' camp section and the boys' camp section. Mm-hmm. It's just the actual classes and the learning environment where they're really, like, intermingled. When they're going to sleep at night, they're in two different areas. There's still the girl troop and the boy troop that are separate. We do get together to accomplish merit badges, but, like, I recently became the scout leader for the girls, and the boys have always had a male as the leader. And I also saw a couple comments of how important it was for boys to have another male role model they could go to. And absolutely, but you can still find those. And I mean, even in the scouts themselves, you can still find that, right? You can easily still find those. It's typically men leading the boy troops and females leading the girl troops. Yeah. And that it just opens it up. Like, are you so clouded? Is your judgment so clouded by your prejudice that you don't want your daughters afforded the same opportunity as your sons? And also, the standards have not been lowered for the boys or the girls. Whenever Amaya just went and did her fitness test at the Eagle Trek camp, she had to run the mile in the same amount of time. She had to do just as many, like, sit-ups. You got so many points for each one that you did. Mm-hmm. And her passing grade was the same as the boys. So we were like, we don't know. Maybe we're liberals now, right, because like, we believe that girls should be afforded the same opportunities as boys. Right, like, didn't realize that was a hot take. Like, am I a hardcore feminist and I didn't realize it?
So, anyways, guys, like, again, taking a topic that we didn't even realize was going to be controversial. Yeah. Trying to help provide resources for our community as well, to get the word out there so that our children can go and learn to be self-sufficient adults, because that is the end goal, I think, for every good parent, is to raise productive, self-sufficient members of society. Yeah. And I know I said the fighting pistol thing was my last point, but if you don't teach your daughters those things when they are young, they will be too easily impressed with shithead boys being able to do a couple of them. Yeah. So the caliber of man that your daughter chooses can be elevated will be elevated by teaching them to do these things and by allowing them to be a part of the Scouts program. Yeah.
They ain't gonna be impressed with little shithead Kyle over here who knows how to change their tire for them, right? They're gonna know how to do it.
Yep.
they can still be a gentleman and do it for them, and they'll still let them. Trust me, I know how to change my tire. And if my husband's like, oh, we have a flat, let me go get that, I'm not like, no, let me do it.
No.
I let him do it for me.
So you don't have to listen to the extremist on either side. That is like the loud minority. Most people, when considering girls in the Scouts, wanted it so that their daughters would be afforded the same life skills as their sons.
Yes.
And I'm sorry if you have the loud minority in your area. Maybe get more involved and start your own troops to where you can keep those same values that you want, but also allow our daughters to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So remember, guys, your responsibility to be ready for the fight never ends.
Even if you're a girl.